We learned today the Gemara of Beis Amud Beis. We're at the bottom of the Yomid, 2 lines from the bottom. Tana Rabbanan, we learned in the Braisa. So this is a continuation about rain and what's considered to be rain, that it comes down appropriately. So v'nesati gishmeichem be'itam. What does this mean? The Eibusha says, I'll give you the rain in the time. Lo shikaira, not in a way that the earth drinks the rain like a shikr that drinks over the amount, that it's going to ruin the earth. V'lo yitzmeya, and not that the rain comes down in a way that it's still thirsty for more, that it just gets too little rain. Elabaininus, intermediate, just right. Shekolz mashak shamim merubin, if there are too much rain, then metashtash in the saaretz, it makes the earth muddy and you can't plant. Veinim itzia peiris, and it doesn't produce any fruits. That's one pshat. Dava acher, another pshat here is be'itam. We focus on the word be'itam. The rain comes down in the right time. What's the right time for rain? B'leilei reviyos, b'leilei shabbosos, on Wednesday nights and on Friday nights. This is the time when people don't go out from the house, so it doesn't cause them discomfort with the rain. Rashi brings from the Gemara in Pesachim that on Wednesday nights there's this shed that's out in the street and people stay home on Wednesday nights. We find this in the time of Shimon ben Shotach, that it would always rain only when Wednesday night and Friday night. And now you might think that that's not enough rain because it only rained these 2 nights, but the rain brought that it produced the wheat that were as big as kidneys, the barley was as big as the pits of olives, and the lentils were as big as these golden coins. So they really had beautiful produce. And and they tied and put away an example for this to show for future generations, to let them know what averis can cause that it's not going to grow the way it could. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Avenisechem hitu, the averis of the Yidden is what caused it to go away from the way it should be. Eila v'chataschem manu hatoiv mikem. Okay, so the averis hitu eila, and your averis has held up the good that could come to you. Similar we find regarding the rain coming down at the right time, bimei hordis. In the time of hordis, this was when they were building the second Beis HaMikdash. They were busy building the Beis HaMikdash, and it would only rain at night. And then the next morning, Nashva Haruach, the wind would come and blow away, and the clouds would be removed, and V'zorcha Achama, and the sun would shine, and they would go out to do their work. V'yadu, when they saw this, that they get their rain that they need, but at night, and by day the sun shines so they can work to build a Beis HaMikdash, so they knew that they're doing the work of heaven, the Eibusha's work. They knew they're doing it with the proper kavanah, and therefore the Eibusha is making it that the rain should not disturb their work. It's out of the Mishnah, the story of Chayni Amagal. So the Gemara here brings a Braisa that goes through the story and adds some details. Tana Rabbanan, so the Braisa says, it was once that most of the month of Adar was already passed, and it still didn't rain. So they sent to Chayni Amagal, hispalel v'yerdu geshamim, daven so it should rain. Hispalel, so he davened v'lo geshamim, and it didn't rain. So what did he do? Og uga, he made a circle in the ground, and v'amad b'seicha, and he stood inside of the circle. So how did he do this? What was his source? Kederech she'asa Chavaka Kanavi. This is something that we find that Chavaka Kanavi did as well. Shenemat says, Al Mishmarti Moida, I will stand in my place, Vesyatzva, I'll remain standing here, Al Motzer. So also he, when he was davening to the Eibishter, stood in his spot and didn't move until the Eibishter answered him. So what did he say to the Eibishter? Your children put their face to me, they're expecting me to bring rain here, to daven and bring rain. Because I am like a person that's in the house, comfortable with the Eibishter. Nishbani, and I swear to you, Bishmcha Gadol, in your great name, She'eni Zaz Mikan, I will not move from here, Acheterachem al Benecha, until you'll have mercy on your children. Hischilu Gishamim Menatfin, so it began some drips of rain coming down. Amru Loi Talmidov, so his student said to him, Rebbe, our Rebbe, Ri'inucha v'lei namus, we want to be able to see you and not die. In other words, with this kind of rain, with these little drops coming down, we're not going to gain much. We want to be able to live with the proper rain. It seems to us this kind of rain is only coming down so that it could untie you from the shvuah that you made, that you're not going to leave this spot. So it's raining, but it's not real rain. It's not going to help us. So Omar, he says to the Eibishter, Loi kach shalti. This is not what I asked for. I asked for rain, that it should come down to fill all the pits and the caves to have enough drinking water. Yardu bezav. So then it began raining like a real storm. Every drop of rain that came down was such massive drops, as big as what could fill a barrel. They measured and they said that the raindrops that came down were, each of these raindrops were not less of the size of a lug, a massive rain that can flood the whole world. So again, a student said to him, Rabbi, our Rebbe, we want to see you, we don't want to die. That it seems to us, this rain that's coming down in this way is coming down only to destroy the world. So again he says to the Eibishter, this is not what I davened for. I'm asking for rain that should be a bracha that the world could receive. And finally the rain came down properly. And then eventually there was so much rain, all the people moved from the lower place in Yerushalayim and they went up to the mountain on Har HaBayis because of so much rain. And now, Omru Loi Rebbe, they said to him, our Rebbe, Kishem Shispalalta Sheyerdu, just like you daven for the rain to come down, Kach Espalal V'yechalehem. Now daven that the rain should leave us. So he said to them, Kach Mekublani, this is what I've received, She'eim Mispalin Al Reva Tova. You don't daven when there's an abundance of good, and rain is a bracha. But yet, in the end, he did daven for this, because Afal Pikain, yet what happened is, he said, Hiviuli Par Haidah, bring for me a bowl that I'll bring as a carbon to thank the Eibishter for the rain. So and he leaned his hands on it, and he says to the Eibishter, your nation, the Eden, that you took out of Mitzrayim, and they can't handle not if it's too much of an abundance of good, put on us, and not if it's too much punishment. If you're angry at them, they can't stand. If you give them too much good, also they also can't handle this. So therefore, may it be your will that the rain should stop, and the world should be able to take an ease from this rain that it's non-stop. Yad, immediately, Noshva haruach, the wind blew, v'nispazru ha'ovim, and the clouds scattered, v'zorcha ha'chama, and the sun came out, v'yotzom l'sodeh, and the people went out into their fields, and v'eviolem k'mein epitrios, and they brought in the mushrooms and the truffles that grew right after the rain, which is what happens, right after the rain you get these mushrooms. After this happened, Sholach le Shimon ben Shottach sends to tell him, if not for the fact that you are chayni, I would decree upon you to be put in the chayrim. Why? So he tells him the reason. If this would be like the years of Eliyahu Hanavi. What happened in the years of Eliyahu Hanavi? That the keys of rain were in the hands of Eliyahu, and Eliyahu at that time promised that it's not going to rain. So if there would have been the same situation here and now, that there would have been a tzaddik that promised that it won't rain, and you're here in your circle, made a shvuah that you're not going to leave until it will rain, wouldn't you be desecrating the Eibishter's name, because in the end the rain wouldn't come? So you mechal the Eibishter's name. So how could have you done such a thing and speak to the Eibishter in this way? What should I do? To you, that you come and speak to the Eibishter, you nudge the Eibishter, and he fulfills your will, like a child that nudges his father, and the father does what the child wants. The child says to the father, take me and wash me with warm water. Then he says to his father, Shatfeni b'tzainen, wash me off with cold water. Tenli agoizim, shkeidim, afarsikim, v'rimainim, give me walnuts, almonds, peaches, and pomegranates. And the father gives him all these things. Regarding you, the pasuk says, Yismach avicha v'imecha v'sagal yeladetecha. The father and mother that have given birth to you are happy with you. This is the story of Chayni HaMagel. The Gemara now brings other details about Chayni HaMagel, very interesting things here. Tana Rabbana, we learned in the Braisa, Ma sholchu b'nei lishkas agazis l'Chayni HaMagel. The people of the Lishkas Agazis, which is the Sanhedrin in the Lishkas Agazis, after this story, what is it that they sent to tell Chayni HaMagel? So they sent them the following pasuk, and here the Gemara is going to bring a couple of psukim in Iyov. Vatigzer Eimer vayakom loch, that you commanded, you decreed, that is, and vayakom loch, and the Eibusher fulfilled it. Val darkecha noiga oir, and on your way it glowed light. So they told them as follows: Vatigzer Eimer ato gazarta mulmata. You decree over here below, and the Eibusher fulfills your decree above. And on your way you bring a glow of light, which means a generation that was dark. You brought light to it with your davening. In the next pasuk there in Iyov it says, Ki hishpilu v'atoymer geve. So what does this mean? A generation that was very low, you lifted them up with your davening. The pasuk there continues and says, V'sheich or V'shach einayim Yeshia. What does this mean? A generation that fell low, that's what shach means, when you fall down low. So with your pure actions, oh, sorry, I skipped a line. Thank you. A generation that fell low with their sins, you save them with your davening. Continuation of there in the pasuk in Iyov, Yumaleit I Noki. What does this mean? A generation that was not clean. You save them with your davening. The next pasuk there says, "V'nimlat beboyer kapecha melatatoy." You have saved them b'maisi yedecha bruden, with the actions of your hands, of your palms that are pure. Amar Rabbi Yochanan said, "Kol yamav shaloisei tzaddik." All the lifetime of this tzaddik of Chayni HaMagel hoyim mitztayer al mikra. He had tzad. He was thinking about the following pasuk. What does it say? Shir Amalois b'shuv Hashem ashiv Tzion. The Eibusher will return the captives of Tzion. Hayinu k'chalmim, and we are like we're in a dream. This refers to the Galos between the first and second Beis Hamikdash, which was supposed to last how long? 70 years. And the pasuk compares it all to a dream. This is so. By the way, from this Gemara we see that Chayni HaMagel was in the time of the first Beis Hamikdash, because it says here that he was after the Churban of the first Beis Hamikdash, and then there was this time of Galus, and he was thinking about this pasuk. What did he say about this pasuk? Omar, so he said, Mi iked enayim shivim shanin bechelma. Is it possible that a person sleeps 70 years in a dream? How could the pasuk refer to the Galus between first and second Beis Hamikdash as a dream? It's 70 years. Who sleeps for 70 years? Now, Yom Echad, one day, he was walking on his way. So he sees this individual that's planting a carob tree. Amalei, so he says to him, "Hi, this tree, at Kameshan and Ton, how many years does it take for it to bear fruits?" Amalei, at Shivim Shanan, takes 70 years. Amalei, so he says to him, Pshitulach, is it so obvious to you, the Chayas Shivim Shnin, that you're going to live 70 years? You're planting this tree for yourself? Amalei, so he answered him, Hi Gabra, this person, in other words referring to himself, Alma b'charuva hashkachte. He finds these carob trees in the world. So what does this mean? Kehechi the shasli li avasi, just like my father planted for me a tree. Shasli nami librai. So I'm planting this tree not for myself, but I'm planting it for my son. So what happens? Yosef kokorech rifte. So Chayni HaMagel sat and he was eating bread. Asale shinte, the sleep overcame him. Nim, he fell asleep. Now what happened is ahadrele mishunisa. There was this huge rock that came and surrounded him, and achasi meina, and he was covered from everyone's eyes. He sort of was disappeared from everybody behind this massive rock. And what happened then? V'nim shivim shnin, and he slept there like this for 70 years, hibernated. Then what happened? Kikam. Finally, after 70 years, he gets up. And he sees this individual that is picking fruits from this carob tree that was planted there. Amalei, so he says to him, Atu deshtalte? Are you the one that planted this tree? Amalei, no, bar Bireya, no. I'm the grandson of the one that planted this tree. So Amalei, so he said to him, so Shmami no denaimi shivim shnin. So that means that I slept there for 70 years. All right, it takes 70 years for the tree to grow. Chazal Achamre, he saw his donkey that he had, this Yalida Le Ramchi Ramchi. He saw that it gave birth to a child and to grandchildren after all these years that it was there. Azalabei say he went back home to his house. Amalahu, he said to the people there, Brei the Chayni Amagal Mikayim, the son of Chayni Amagal, is he still alive? Amrulay, they said to him, Brei Lesa, his son is not alive anymore. Bar Brei Yisa, his grandson is alive. Amalahu, he says to them, Ano Chayni Amagal, I am Chayni Amagal. So, where am I over here? Ano Chayni Amagal, I am Chayni Amagal. Lohim nu, they didn't believe him. How could it be? Chayni Amagal disappeared so many years ago. Nobody knew who he was. They didn't believe he's Chayni Amagal. Azala Beis HaMedrash, he comes into the Beis HaMedrash. Shamina l'Rabbanan dekamri, nehirin, shemaitisin, ki bishani Chayni Amagal. He hears the people saying that this sugya is so clear to us, like in the lifetime of Chayni Amagal. What was the clarity that Chayni Amagal gave them? When he came to the Beis Medrash, any question the Chachamim had, he would answer it for them. So he hears them saying this about himself. He says to them, I am Chayni Amagal. They didn't believe him. And they didn't give him the honor that he was supposed to get. They looked at him like he's a strange person coming to claim that he's Chayni Amagal. So he felt very, very bad about this. So he asked the Eibishter, missed, and he passed away. So he says that it's no reason for me to live anymore. Rava said regarding this, this is what people say, or you have a partner to learn Torah with, or you should pass away. There's no point in living. That's what happened to him over here when people didn't accept him, B'chlal, so therefore he passed away. Abba Chilkiah bar berei the Chayni Amagal Hava. Abba Chilkiah was the grandson of Chayni Amagal. When the world would need rain, Hava Mishadri Rabbanan Legabei. So just like their grandfather, his grandfather that is, they would send to him for rain. Ubayirachmi, and he would daven, Vasi Mitra, and it would rain. So once it happened, the world needed rain. The Rabbanan sent a pair of Chachamim to him, that he should daven for them, he should bring rain. So he went to his house, the Chachamim that is, went to his house, and they did not find him there. They went out into the field, that he's there in the field, working in the field. So they greeted him, and he didn't even turn his face to them. Then towards the evening, so he was taking the wood, the firewood that he needed. So so he carried the firewood with the shovel on one shoulder, a glime and a garment that he had, he carried it on another shoulder. Then another thing, they observed everything he was doing, and the Gemara will soon explain, or he will explain to them everything he did. The entire way when he was going home, he wasn't wearing any shoes. And when he came to an area where there was water, so he put on his shoes. Then when he came to an area where there were thorns, he picked up his clothing. Then when he came into the city, his wife came out to greet him, and she was all adorned, dressed with jewelry. Then when he comes into his house, is the bisu bereisha. His wife goes into the house first, and then he goes into the house, and then and then the Rabbanon came into the house as well. Yosef, he sat down with Karech Rifta, and he ate bread, and he did not offer the Chachamim to join him. Su kruchu, come and eat bread with me. Then what did he do? Palag Rifta, he splits the bread, liyanuki, for his children. Lekashisha, to the older child, chod, he gave him one piece. Ulezutre, and to the younger child, he gave tarei, he gave him 2 pieces. Amalale de bisu, and then he turns to his wife, and the Chachamim didn't hear this apparently, and he says to his wife, Yadana, I know that Rabbanon mishum mitre ka'asu. They came here because they want to ask me to daven for rain. Let's go up on top on the roof, and let's daven for rain. Maybe the Eibusher will be appeased and listen to us, and it'll begin raining, and we won't take credit ourselves for what we did. So Sakalegra, they went to the rooftop. Komi b'chodes avise. So Abba Chilkiah stood in one corner. V'ihi and his wife b'chodes avise in a different corner. What happened? They were davening, and Kodim Solek Anoni Mahach Zavise did the bisu. And the clouds of rain came first to the corner where his wife was davening. Kinochis, when he came back down to the Chachamim, Amalu, he said to them, Amay Yasur Rabbanon, why did you come to me? Amrulei, so they said to him, Shadri lan Rabbanon, Lagabe Demar, Lemiboy Rachma Mitre. The Chachamim sent us to you so that you should daven for rain. Amalahu, so he said to them, Baruch HaMakayim Shlehitzrich Eschem La'abe Chilkiyah. Thank Hashem that he didn't need you to rely on Abba Chilkiyah, because look, it's beginning to rain already. Amrulei, so they said to him, Yadinan, we know, the mitre machmasmar udasa, that the rain that we see coming is because of you, that we know that you went to daven for this. We saw everything you did. But now they went back to the whole story, everything that happened here, and they wanted him to explain all of the different details of what he did. Ella, but now, leimelon mar hani mili ditmielon. Why did you answer and explain to us these things that we're wondering about? So number one, my time, why is it that ki yavinu lamar shloma, when we came and greeted you, liyazbel amarape, you didn't even turn your face to us? Amalahu, so he answered them, schir yoim avoi, because I'm hired here to work for the day. So I'm hired by the day, every minute I'm hired by someone. So if so, I said, I'm not going to take off from my time of work to turn to you. Every minute I'm not my own time. The next question they had was, my time, why when you're carrying the wood, so you carry the wood on one shoulder and the garment on another shoulder? It would be more comfortable to put first the garment on that shoulder and on top of it to put the wood. They said to them, that garment was borrowed. I borrowed it to wear or to use, but I did not borrow it for the purpose to put it under the wood, and the wood could ruin this garment. Another question they had was, my time, why is it that all the way you were walking, you weren't wearing shoes? When you came to the water, then you were wearing your shoes. I answered them, the entire way that I'm walking, I could see where I'm going. But in the water, when I walk into the water, I can't see what's in the water. There could be snakes and other fish that could bite me, so I have to put on shoes. Another question, my time, why when you came to thorns, you picked up your garments and the thorns could hurt you? So he said to them, because the garment, if it gets torn by the thorns, so then I can't be used anymore. But my own body, if it gets hurt, it'll be healed. Another question, my time, why when you come into the city, why does your wife come out as she's all adorned with her jewelry? So he says to them, so that I shouldn't put my eyes on another woman besides my wife. My time, another question, why is it that she goes in first, and and you only go into the house after her, and then and only afterwards did we come into the house? So he said, because I didn't inspect you, I don't know who you people are. I didn't want my wife to go into the house after me, or maybe even after you, and then maybe one of you will go and do something with her that's inappropriate. Another question, my time, why is it when you were eating the bread, why didn't you come invite us to join you to eat with you? So he said, because I know I did not have enough bread to offer you. And I said to myself, I'm not going to make believe as if I have enough and offer you to eat bread, and then you're going to say, oh, thank you so much for offering, and really, I know that I don't have what to offer you. So therefore I didn't offer. My time, another question, what's the reason Yoav Marli Yanuka Kashisha Choda Rifte? Why did you give to the older son one piece of bread, and to the younger one, two pieces? So he answered them, because the older one is in the house. So therefore he has in the house the time that he can eat. But the younger one, he's sitting in the yeshiva or in the cheder and learning, and therefore he didn't eat yet. The final question over here, why is it that the clouds for the rain came first to the corner where your wife was standing, before the clouds that came to the place where you were standing? What's the greatest chus that your wife has more than you? So the answer is because my wife is always in the house, and and she gives bread for poor people. And therefore when she serves poor people, they immediately can have an of the chesed that she does with them. But when I do tzedakah, so I'm giving people money. So therefore the hana that I give people is not immediate. They have to take the money and then buy the food that they have. So therefore she has a greater schus than me, so the clouds came to her. Inami, or another schus she had is, there was an incident that Hanu biriyoni dahave b'shvivusan. There were these individuals that were terrorizing them, that were not behaving well in their neighborhood. So Anna boy rachmi. So Abba Chilkiah says, I asked of the Eibishter dilimusa, that they should die. V'hi boy rachmi, and she asked that they should do tshuva, but not that they should die. Ve'ahadru, and they actually did tshuva. So therefore she has a greater schos than me. Now there was another individual that was also a grandson of Chayni HaMagal, Chanon HaNechba, Babrate de Chayni HaMagal Ave. He was the son of the daughter of Chayni HaMagal. And here the Gemara tells us about him. Ki have a mitzrich alma lemitra. When the world would need rain, have a meshadri rabbanon yunuki de berav legabek. So they would send one of the children of the cheder to go to him to tell him that the world needs rain. And v'nokti le b'shipule glime, and the child would grab on to the edges of his garment. And v'amr le, and the children would tell him, Abba, Father, havlo mitra, give us rain. And Amar Lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he would say to the Eibush, Rebbeinu Shalom, Asay b'shvil elu, do bring the rain for these children. She'ei makirin, they don't know the difference. Ben Abba de Yov Mitra, between the father that gives rain, L'Abba de Lo Yov Mitra, and to a father that can't give rain. They're calling me Abba, and they don't know the difference of who could give rain. V'amai karile Chanon HaNechba. How did he get this nickname? Chanon HaNechba. Nechba means someone that hides himself. Mipnei shoyamach bi'atzmai beveis hakisei. So there are two pshatim here in Rashi. According to the first Gersa in Rashi, he takes out the words beveis hakisei, and Rashi says mach bi'atzmai means that when he would go and daven for rain, he would hide. He wouldn't allow people to see that he's davening for rain. He was an onav. Now, there's another gersa where you are good is the beis hakisei, and what this refers to is that even when he would use the bathroom, he would do it in a very modest way. Those are the two gersas here in the Gemara. Amalei Rab Zrika Rav Safra. Rab Zrika says to Rav Safra, Tochazi, come and see, Ma ben takifi da Aradi Yisrael. What's the difference between the great tzaddikim of Eretz Yisrael, l'chasidi de Bavel, and the pious ones of Bavel? Chasidi de Bavel, the Chasidim in Bavel, which were Rav Hone, Rav Chiste, ki have a mitzrach alma lemitre, when the world would need rain, Omri, they would say, Nichne va'adodi, let's come and gather together, v'niboye rachmi, and let's daven to the Eibishter, and after the Meratzi HaKadosh Baruch Hu, maybe the Eibishter will be appeased, the Yesi mitra, and it'll rain. So they would have to join together to daven in order to bring rain. Tekif Yidara di Yisrael, however, the great people of Eretz Yisrael, Kogoin, Rabbi Yoina, who is this? Rabbi Yoina, Avur de Rab Mani, the father of Rab Mani. Ki have a mitzrech alma lemitre, when the world would need rain, have a ayala beise. So he wouldn't go and bring together people, he would go quietly and privately in his house. Va'amalahu, and he would even tell the people of his house, he would do it in a way that even the people of his own house would not know where he's going. And he would tell them, Havali gualki, bring me a sack, ve'ezel, let me go out into the marketplace, ve'aisili bezuze ibura, and with one zuz, let me go and buy some grain. In other words, he would say, let me buy a little bit of grain, because there was a time when there was no rain, and the grain was very, very expensive. So he says, give me a sack, and I'm going to buy a little bit of grain. Then what would he do? Ki have a nafik lebra, when he would go outside, ozol, he would go, v'koi beduchta mikta, and he would stand in a deeper place, in a lower place. Tichsiv, because when you daven, the pasuk says, mimamakim krasicha Hashem, you call out for the Eibishter from a lower place. And v'koi beduchta tznieh, and he would stand there in this quiet and place where no one would see him. Umachasi b'sake, he would cover himself with sackcloth. Ubayi rachmi, and he would daven to the Eibishter v'asi mitra. And then it began raining. And now he would come back home. And ki yavasa lebeise, when he would come home, amri leid, so the people of his house would say to him, I see mar ibura, so did you bring the grain that you said that you're going to bring home? Amalahu, so he would tell them, no, I didn't, because I said to myself, hoyel v'asa mitre, now that it began to rain, so hashte rovach alma. So now things are going to ease up in the world, and the price is going to go down, so let me wait to buy a little bit later when the price is lower. V'su, another thing where we see, the Gemara here is bringing different stories of the Chachamim of Eretz Yisrael, how they had a koyach in davening, and the Eibusha would answer them right away. Rab Mani berei, Rab Mani, which was the son of Rab Yaina, have a kometzayre the Beinisiyah. So the people, by the nasi, by the leader, people in charge there would give him pain. They would make things difficult for him. So ishtatach al kivre davua. He went to the kever of his father to daven about this. Amalein, he says to his father, Abba, my father, hani mitzareli. These individuals are giving me pain. Yom echad, one day, have a kachalfi hasam. So these people that were in charge there in the house of the nasi were passing through by the kever of his father. Inkit kare de susvasayu. So the feet of the horses that they were riding on got stuck. It couldn't move from that place. They couldn't go. So they realized that something is wrong, that they can't go over here. And then until they accepted upon themselves that they're not going to cause any pain to Rab Mani, and then they were able to move away. So the Eibusha immediately answered this davening. The Sur Rab Mani, another time Rab Mani have a shchiach kameid Rab Yitzchak ben El Yashiv. He was by Rab Yitzchak ben El Yashiv. Amalei, he tells Rab Yitzchak ben El Yashiv, Asiri, the Bei Chami, the rich people by my father-in-law, kometzarili, are giving me pain. Omar, so he says, Lianu, let them become poor. Ve'yanu, and they immediately became poor. Now, later he comes to him and he says, Omar kadochkuli. Now they're squeezing me. They want my money and they're asking me that I should give them food. So Omar, so now he says again, Liasru, so let them become rich again. Ve'yasru, they became rich again. So again, the point is here, we see that Rabbi Yitzchak ben El Yashiv from the Chachamim in Eretz Yisrael, whatever he davened for was answered immediately. Amar, he said, Lo mikabli alai inchi beisi. It's not acceptable upon me, the people of my house. This refers to his wife, that his wife wasn't acceptable to him, she was ugly looking, and he couldn't accept her. Amalei, so he says to him, Mashma, what's your wife's name? Chana, he says. Her name is Chana. So he davened, Tisyapi Chana. Let Chana become beautiful. V'nisyapis, and she became beautiful. So he comes back to her now and he says, Amalei says to him, Kamegandera alai. Now that she's so beautiful, so her behavior is with gaiva, a haughty behavior on me because of her beauty. So now I can't accept her behavior either. Amalei, so he said, so if so, Ihachi tachze Chana l'shachrurise. Let Chana return to her, literally her blackness or her the way she was before. V'chazra Chana l'shurisa, and she became back to the way that she was ugly before. There were two students. They were in front of Rabbi Yitzchak ben El Yashiv. Amrulei, they said to him, Niboye ma rachmi alon. Let the master daven for us, the nechkim tuva, that we should become very wise. Amar lahu. So here he responded to them and said, Imi haisa, with me was this power to be able to daven for anything, and the Eibusha would give it to me right away. V'shilachtia. But I sent away this power. Rashi over here says that v'achshav en tfilasim mekubelas kolkach, that I don't want to daven right now. And if you look in the Bach, in Ois Tzadik, the Bach says that mipnei she'loirotzel hatriach lefnei hamakom hamakein, because he didn't want to be matriach the Eibishter to fulfill everything that he's asking for, so he sent them away without davening for this. So here, all these stories are coming to make the point how the Chachamim in Eretz Yisrael had a tremendous koyach in davening, much more even than the Chassidim of Bavel.